All right, back on Get Up, and as promised, breaking news. This is from Shefty's Twitter feed just a few moments ago. Before free agency begins next week, I'm reading it verbatim, the Buccaneers and five-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans reached agreement on a 2-year, $52 million deal that includes $35 million guaranteed. Evans now has a real chance, Shefty writes, to start and finish his career in Tampa as a Buccaneer. He was expected to be one of the top free agent wide receivers available. Now, instead, he will be a recruiting tool for that team to try to make sure they bring back Baker Mayfield. Fill in any blanks for us here, Dan.
Yeah, they were hopeful, but not certain that this could get done. I think the length of the deal probably helped, right? Didn't need to stretch to 3 or 4 years for a wide receiver who's about to be 31 years old. The average per year, 26, is a good number for Mike Evans, and I think it reflects an organization that appreciates what he's done and sees him as kind of a unique and unprecedented player. It looks like a good compromise.
Yeah, let me get our wide receiver in on this. Hawk, what do you think of this? He's staying in Tampa.
Mike Evans is one of the most consistently elite receivers that we've ever seen in the NFL. He is underrated even by the standards of him making that much money and everyone knowing he's a top guy. But if you look from his college career up until now, he has put quarterbacks on the map. And he's a big reason why we feel so positive about Baker Mayfield. This was the right move for the Buccaneers. And I think even in those 2 seasons, he's going to do what he did in the last 2 seasons and even outplay the contract past expectations for a 31 and 32-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield will be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He is not going to leave Mike Evans. So the fact that they re-sign Mike Evans makes sure that they will re-sign Baker Mayfield. He is no longer going to be a free agent. I think Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. I also think this keeps the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while early in this offseason, the favorites in that NFC South.
Yeah, Greeny, just to echo, at 30 years old to have 13 touchdowns, like there is no lapse in his game whatsoever. And to me now, like to Dan's point, you keep the nucleus together. I can't imagine that Baker Mayfield's far behind. You don't sign Mike Evans and let Baker Mayfield graduate.
And the other point that was raised to me in discussions in Indianapolis was Mike Evans, though 31, like the aspects of his game that make him great could age well, right? Like he's not reliant on speed. Right. He's not going to get shorter, right? So like he'll still be able to win those contested catch balls and outsmart defenders.
He is, but not for a while. I find I'm not as tall as I used to be. I'm a lot older.
Imagine he'll retire by
5.5.
The question is, how much longer will he be? He's 1 year left on his contract. He has a cap number of $59.5 million. The Cowboys are going to have to get down somehow. It's possible they extend his contract, but it doesn't sound like that is imminent. Cowboys can save about $18 million in cap space with a simple salary to signing bonus conversion that does not require Dak's approval. I would think that's the minimum that happens this offseason, and they'll continue to talk about a potential extension, but I don't think it's going to be easy.
Look, if you
wasn't the last time, by the way.
If you're interested in the top of the NFC or in anything really in football right now, this is a front burner story. Dak Prescott's contract situation is going to impact a lot of things. Jerry Jones at the Combine, confident he will get this thing done. But listen.
He had one of the best years, as you all know. But the thing that I would point out is that we think that a lot to do with the fact that Mike McCarthy is right there involved in the Dak's play more directly and more involved in the offense, and think that there's a lot more to come. So we'll see. We're going to be working on his contract as we get into the future. What we do there or don't do, I couldn't say at this time, but the main thing is that he's going to be our quarterback.
Well,
a couple things.
Hawk joins us, by the way. We had
Hawk?
some technical. Andrew Hawkins, good to see you, Hawk. We'll get right to you. What should we take from that?
Well, number one, he's patting himself in the back because he's like, well, the coach did a good job with the quarterback, too. No duh. We understand that the coach impacts the quarterback's play. Dak's had really good seasons before. Certainly last year was his best, but he's had seasons that were very similar in regards to that. The Cowboys, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, have 2 options. One, they could have moved on from Dak Prescott in totality. That probably would have happened at the end of the season. Or 2, figure out his contract to extend him. They're not going to sit here. You just said they can convert 18 of that $59 million to
convert more than 18. They can
so does that drop his cap number to 40?
No, it would drop it. Well, it would drop it by 18. So what does that mean?
41 or something 30, like that?
37-ish. Yeah, 41 or so. So that's about the highest cap number in the league this year was Patrick Mahomes at $37 million. The Chiefs managed to overcome that.
They did, and he's Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, again, the number right now is $59.5 million. And there's increasing speculation that we could be seeing the last season for Dak Prescott in Dallas, yeah?
The thing people have to understand is that Dak Prescott cleaned the Cowboys' clock in the last negotiation. He has nothing but leverage. They are not allowed to franchise him.
Right.
They have the monster. Even if they did the conversion to drop the cap number down, next year's cap number is astronomical, over $50 million, if he's not even on the team. So he's in great. He does not have to make one single move unless they do the deal he wants.
I mean, hear from Hawk here this morning again. We had some technical issues, so it's the first time we're able to have him jump in. Always good to see you. What is your take on Jerry and Dak and the Cowboys and all of it?
Jerry has no leverage. I think this is a negotiation play, but the problem is that we've talked about before is that he's playing owner and general manager. Dak Prescott has all the cards. He understands that. He knows that. And actually, I don't think Jerry Jones is doing himself any favors by insinuating that the reason for Dak's success is solely because of the head coach. And it does play into the larger issue with the Dallas Cowboys. And when they get in these scenarios, it's why Jerry Jones has not won of recent years.
What do you think of this, Mike T?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, it cracks me up. We're going to give credit to the coach who a couple of weeks ago we weren't going to extend, right? So that juxtaposition to me is fascinating. But fundamentally, Dak Prescott's in the prime of his career, Greeny. He's going to be 31. He has a lot of great years. And if we're one of the Cowboys guys, what I'm saying to each and one of you, if not Dak, then who? Get the deal done, pay the bill. It's
Can't live like that.
Really? Because the alternative is a lot worse. I could give you about two-thirds of the NFL that would give their left leg to have Dak Prescott as their quarterback.
At $60 million?
Not at 60. Well,
okay.
Yeah, wait a second.
They're not going to get him.
Here's my thing. If Dak Prescott doesn't play for the Cowboys next year, he'd be the first quarterback in the history of that organization to play for someone else. Tony Romo didn't. Troy Aikman didn't. Danny White didn't. Don Meredith didn't. Roger Staubach didn't. So are the Cowboys really going to let him walk? Are they really going to roll that dice?
Right, and again, to me, what's going to force that decision, guys, like who are you going to go with? Trey Lance? Are you going to bring in Zach Wilson, try to resurrect him? Like, they're not going to be in the top five.
Okay, the Cowboys don't have a culture problem, right? You don't win 12 games in a row, 3 years in a row, and have a culture problem, correct?
Correct.
That's fair?
Correct.
There's a lot of different ways you can slice that apart. Yeah.
They have a championship. So
I disagree with that because some of the things they're saying on social media about Dak Prescott doesn't happen in other places.
There's also a wide delta between Dak Prescott and let's go get Zach Wilson. I mean, there's some space in between those two things.
The way they look at it, the way the Cowboys look at it, Tony Romo was undrafted. Dak Prescott was a fourth-round pick.
Right.
They think they can find these guys. That's not, and that's their last, decade and a half.
They're going to just remain good.
But their championships were all won with Roger Staubach, who won the Heisman, and Troy Aikman, who was the first pick in the draft.
They would point out that having Dak Prescott hasn't helped them clear that bar either.
All right, let's talk about Russell. What's the ideal situation for Russ Wilson?
Clarity? I don't know the team, Greeny, but clarity of what exactly is going to happen. I think we all know that Denver is going to move on from him. When does that happen? And then how does the other dominoes of a Kirk Cousins and a Baker Mayfield impact? Obviously, the teams, the New Englands, the Pittsburghs, the Atlantas are going to be in that conversation, but I think he is so far down the domino list that at least clarity of what his future potentially looks like is the most important.
Well, we're talking about Russell Wilson today. Mike T., you have a feeling we're going to be talking about him for a while.
Yeah, June 1st, and I take the over, and here's why. When they gets cut next week, he's owed $39 million, and he's going to take some of these visits to the teams that Dan just said, and he's going to say, great, what do you have for me for 2025 guarantees? They're going to say zero, and he's going to sit there and say, hey, I'm closing in on $300 million. Why would I go sign with a team now to get the exact amount of money I would get if I didn't do anything? Therefore, Greeny, to me, this is one of the most fascinating dynamics. 2 years ago, this guy's on the trajectory to the Hall of Fame, and now he may retire or not play this year because he's going to get paid the same money to play or not play.
No shot.
Yeah, that's the question, is would he want to go out like this? Hawk, what do you think of the whole thing?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't see him retiring. I think this is one of those years where we will see, okay, what does Russell Wilson really want his legacy to be? And that being said, I think the quote-unquote damage to his career is grossly overstated. When you watch last year's film, and Dan and I would go every week and talk about the Denver Broncos wide receivers who couldn't get open and beat man-to-man, how the play calling, where they were sending route combinations that weren't conducive for the offense they were doing, and with all of that, Russell Wilson still had a really good year. If you watch the film, he is not some over-the-hill, can't-do-anything quarterback. That is just not the case, and I do think he's a viable option for a team looking for a starter with the experience that Russell Wilson has.
Well, so Dan, let's talk about those teams. Again, you just came back from Indy, which is the rumor, central.
Yeah.
And there's only one Kirk Cousins. Only one team is going to get him. And then suddenly the market on Justin Fields isn't so good, et cetera. What does the world look like for Russell right now?
I mean, this was not a name you heard much at the Combine. Like, I don't think he's going to be like the top choice for someone. You know what I mean? I think if you look at teams like, if you look at the Raiders, you look at the Patriots, tell me which of these teams doesn't get a guy in the draft, right? And then maybe they pivot to Russell Wilson, maybe because the quarterback they took in the draft was like a second or third rounder and he needs time, so Russell starts now. That kind of thing. So to Mike T's point, I think it's something that could drag past next week. I don't think he signs next Tuesday.
I still find it fascinating. He's going to play this year, but I love Baker Mayfield. No one's championed him more than I, and I think obviously resurrected his career. Numbers-wise, production-wise, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson had a relatively similar season. We're talking about Baker Mayfield maybe getting $80 million to guaranteed dollars, and Russell Wilson might not play.
He's younger, right?
And he doesn't have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans performance-wise last year. I don't understand the correlation between Russell Wilson stinks and wait, did you guys watch the tape from last year?
Yeah, there were so many things going on in Denver last year.
Now, the noise of Russell, different story.
There were a lot of different factors in that. There's noise with Baker, too, or at least there was once, and he overcame it. We'll see if Russell's able to do it. All right.